r/AskReddit. Art teachers of Reddit. What's the most disturbing artwork a student has ever submitted? My little brother got in trouble for drawing a picture of a polar bear eating a seal. Lots of red crayon was used. He was like 9. I didn't get why it was a big deal. It's not like it doesn't happen. Grown-ups like to think kids don't know anything bad happens until they turn 20. Can you imagine if they got their way? If, after 20 years you found out everything parents don't like to talk about? I had this kid I'll call Joe. He had special needs but loved movies. He hated everyone but me. I was his first male teacher ever. He would often draw me pictures of Godzilla and King Kong. It was awesome. When he went to the next grade he drew a picture of his new teacher being eaten by sharks. She freaked, called a whole bunch of meetings, went nuts. She was saying that she was scared that he wants her dead and that she feared for her life. I was asked to have a talk with the kid. I asked him what the picture was and he said it was the lady from Jaws 4 being eaten by Jaws. We then proceeded to talk about how Jaws 1 and 2 are awesome. Man, some teachers are straight up paranoid. And rightfully so. What if he brought a shark to school? My kids in Korea presented me with this masterpiece one day. Note their sweet little names at the bottom. This looks like a picture you'd find in a very itty creepypasta. My kids suddenly handed me a picture of a woman with hyper-realistic eyes dripping blood. Then a skeleton came out and killed me. I had a male college drawing eye student who liked to draw pictures of beautiful women screaming. I can see how this could easily be goth pretty camp or trying too hard to be edgy. It wasn't any of those things. He just really liked pictures of women in distress and seemed obsessed by the idea of it. I jokingly told him to use his powers for good and not for evil. And that it's better to get your emotions out in drawing than in the real world. They're just so pure in moments of desperation. That's what the white room is for. Not a teacher, but my daughter came home from kindergarten with this. When I asked what it was she said Cookie Monster with his head blown up. And then he peed his pants because of his head blowing up. It's still hanging in her room because she's so proud of it. Edit. I didn't realize it at the time, but apparently we have a few other copies of this theme. Either my kid is really a psycho, or she remembered that we thought the original was funny and did it again. Oh my god, it's a masterpiece. When I was in HS, a really weird guy would ignore the instructions for any assignment and just draw pictures of people being murdered, cut up, burned alive, all kinds of crazy shit. The teachers never did anything. One day after school he pulled a knife and stabbed my friend in the hand for being a Jew. Suspended for 2 weeks. He told someone he was going to shoot up the school like Columbine. Luckily the person he told called the police. When they came to the kid's house they found a rifle and drawings of the school. He was planning on setting a fire in the chemistry lab, and when people came out the other side of the building he would be sitting in the bleachers of the football field with the rifle. I don't know what happened after he got arrested, but hopefully he's never ducking getting out of prison. This guy is seriously dangerous. Also, our teachers and school administration were clearly ducking braindead. Not an art teacher. I'm a volunteer at a center that does art therapy. One of the happiest littlest client we have handed me a drawing of their deceased mother with her face twisted into a horrified scream. Eyes blackened and brown gloop was pouring from the mouth and eyes. Sometimes I stay up at night thinking about it. Not an art teacher, but in my AP art class in 12th grade, a fellow student in class decided to make an art portfolio with the human fetus as its theme. One piece in particular was a hyper-realistic ink drawing of a tossed salad with little fetuses in lieu of shrimp. Yep, edit. If memory serves. There was also a piece they did of a martini with a fetus in lieu of the olive on the toothpick. Obligatory. Not an art teacher, but in high school we had a kid whose art portfolio was displayed at the school's art show. Numerous drawings, sketches, paintings, etc. of tadpoles. From a single one to dozens to hundreds. A full 2 years of art classes dedicated to tadpoles, until he informed everyone he was drawing sperm. A yellow smiley face with sad mouth with the big black words written on. I want to eat a lot of medicine to kill myself. My parents hate me. The kid is 10 years old. When I was in kindergarten, I drew a male ghost going to the bathroom. I had older brothers, so it was very detailed. and I even put a water line on the testicles, because that is where I thought urine was stored. The teachers and principal called in my parents for a serious conference and asked my dad what he was going to do about the picture. After my dad finished laughing, he told them that he was going to make copies and send them to all of his friends and relatives for Halloween. And he did. That was 40 years ago, and I still have a few extra copies if any of you need them. Oh, and I found out that balls do not, in fact, store urine. Back in the 90s I volunteered at an art studio that provided free classes for low-income inner-city at-risk youth. Wonderful non-profit run by a couple of cool old hippie ladies who did an amazing job helping the kids feel free to express themselves artistically no matter what they wanted to create. For example, one teenage smartass made an elaborate paper mache of Bob Marley smoking a huge joint and they hung it proudly in a place of honor. No judgment or preachiness at that art class. So one year they decided to have the younger kids do a Day of the Dead themed picture with a short paragraph to commemorate a loved one. The teachers were expecting pictures of grandmas or maybe pets, and there were some of those. There were also several scenes of murder, including childishly drawn guns, knives and oh so much red, followed by short descriptions like, "My brother got shot. He dead now. It was loud and scary. I miss him." These were like 7-9-year-olds. Those pictures were displayed just as proudly as the grandma pics. Not a teacher, but in 2nd grade I was infatuated with the battleship Bismarck. I also loved the flag on it with the red background and white circle with that cool box thingy. We had to build a design to look like a quilt using construction paper. I did mine using the Nazi flag. It looked 100% like it. My teacher didn't say a word, but when I showed it to my parents they burned it. It took me until 5 years to figure out why they did that. High school 1977. While everyone else is drawing Pink Floyd rainbows and peace signs all over everything, the biggest burnout in the class makes a wide metal bracelet with intricate triangular designs cut out of it. He turns it in and gets a great grade for the first project he ever bothered finishing and some well-deserved praise for his effort. Teacher hands our work back and first thing he does is grab a pair of pliers and bends all the triangles outward, making a thick metal spiked bracelet. I found that devilishly, disturbingly clever. Not an art teacher, but I worked at an elementary after-school program when I was 17. Instead of coloring in the picture, the kid took a black crayon and was just scribbling over the page singing to the tune of "Barney, I hate you. You hate me. Always unnerve me." Told the kids to draw something that makes them happy. One kid scribbled black all over the page and said nothing makes him happy. Edit. The student was referred to the school counselor. You remember the Superbad movie scene with the licks? My friend did that about 15 years before the movie and someone turned it into the teacher. He got suspended for a few days and his parents had to come in and review the notebook with the principal. I mean, it was filled front to back with licks. Not a teacher, but a student in class painted pictures of wrist cutting, self-harm and suicide. It even went on display for the whole school to see. Teacher from Germany here. We have a lot of refugees from Syria here. Some of them are traumatized. Occasionally you get a really depressing picture of a bombed city or pictures of refugee camps. If they know how to use pencils. Some of them had been on the run for 2-3 years and lost a lot of the skills they had learned in their schools. Quite a challenge for us teachers, but we're doing our best. My school was unlucky in that almost every year a student died. It was a big deal for us, as each year only had around 60 students. Well, my younger brother had this classmate that said my brother was probably going to be the one who died. It was ducked, but no one really cared because my brother was his kind of odd. Kid ended up dying during open heart surgery. In my brother's art class they made a quilt, and my brother's square only said "Kamazarish." High school. Put a construction paper origami box on his locker 2 steps outside my classroom. Did a drawing of weapons with the message, "If you have someone in the school you need dealt with, leave their name and 50 cents. He didn't see the problem with this and insisted that it was a joke. This was years after Columbine. But still, weird thing to joke about. This is the same kid that chose to do a project on Uruguay because it sounds like you're saying you're a gay. I have an art studio for children and have seen some very interesting artwork produced throughout the years. The 2 experiences I am listing below didn't involve the children's artwork, but they were disturbing all the same. I had a little boy, 5 years old, who always wore gloves and sunglasses. I knew he needed to wear them due to some sensory issues he was experiencing. Although he did get defensive when other kids asked him about his outfit, he was a sweet kid. One day during summer camp, I saw him sitting on the floor whispering intently into an event in German. I had no idea he could speak German. He had only spoken English for the time I knew him. I asked him what he was doing, who he was talking to, and he explained, I'm communicating with the demons. When I talked to his mom about it later, she told me he doesn't know how to speak German. For a while I rented out the basement area of a school for my art studio. I had a little boy who pointed to our supply closet and stated, you're going to die in there someday. Please ducking like and subscribe.